All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. We're just mere hours away from one of the most anticipated boxing matches in quite some time, as we're going to find out who is the king of the welterweight division. Both Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. will step into the ring tomorrow night in Las Vegas with unblemished records. But only one man will leave in possession of all the gold at the welterweight division. Now, Crawford has wanted Spence for quite some time. And it's been a scenario that's been back and forth haggling about money, you name it. And to me, that is what has turned a lot of people off from the great sport of boxing, in my opinion, because you want to see the best fight the best, but too often, not just with these two combatants, but just too often, there's a lot of backdoor politics to put the fights that people want to see on the back burner for several years, and it kind of takes away from the luster from it. That's kind of what happened here, but we're still, in my opinion, going to be in store for a tremendous bout tomorrow night. Crawford is 39-0, while Spence is 28-0. And I'm going to give the edge in speed and power to Errol Spence, but I'm going to give the slight edge as far as being a technician in that ring to Terence Crawford. Crawford is slightly older. He's 35 years of age, while Spence is 33. And Crawford is a notorious slow starter. And I say that as a compliment because in those first couple of rounds of a fight, Terence Crawford tends to sit back and figure out his opponent's style. But once he figures out that style, he will go to work. This is going to be a scenario where it's going to be interesting to see if Crawford sits back or comes out and attacks early. Either way, I don't think it's going to be a scenario where, when you see Terence Crawford get on one of those runs and dominate round after round after round, I don't foresee that scenario tomorrow night. I do see a scenario where Crawford is definitely going to win his fair share of rounds, but I just think that Errol Spence is such a phenomenal fighter. It's not going to be easy for Crawford to do that. I think this is going to be a back and forth affair throughout. I think both fighters are going to make multiple adjustments to each other's style throughout this fight, and it's going to be interesting to see which fighter makes the biggest mistake early on. Because when you have two fighters of this caliber, like Terence Crawford and Errol Spence, when one makes a mistake, the other is so skilled that he can capitalize on that. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that dynamic works out tomorrow night. It's one of those where I think that this really has the makings to be a special boxing match. One thing I will say: the long layoff for Errol Spence Jr. hasn't fought in more than a year. He's only had less than a handful of fights over the last couple of years. Terence Crawford had his last bout in December. I will say this: I think this has the potential not only to be worth the price of admission and then some. I think it also has the potential to be one of the better welterweight fights that we've seen in a long time. One of the better big marquee boxing matches that we've seen in a long time. Because you think about it, you sometimes over the years, regardless of the weight class, we get the big names in the ring to face off against each other. And sometimes there's no other way to say it, it's a dud. But both of these guys are so skilled. Both of these guys are so phenomenal at what they do. And honestly, I really do believe that this is the first of probably three fights between these guys because I think it's going to be a very close fight. Obviously, there's going to be a rematch either way. And I think this has the makings of a career defining night for the winner. We've seen Errol Spence, get the best of Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, Mikey Garcia, Kell Brook, Lamont Peterson, and others. We've also seen Terence Crawford get past Sean Porter, Kell Brook, Amir Khan, just to name some of the marquee fighters that he has gotten it on with. But make no mistake about it, I think the folks in Vegas tomorrow night are going to get their money's worth. I think the fans watching around the world are going to get their money's worth. To me, I think this bout right here is a classic toss up, flip of a coin to try to figure out who's going to win. But when it's all said and done, I'm going to give the slightest of slight edges in this one to Terence Bud Crawford. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There is also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now, you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.